Hey, Ravens fans, I have the privilege of being joined by our new coach, wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator, David Culley. Coach, congratulations on coming here. What's it been like since you've been here in Baltimore and getting started?
Well, things have been good. People have been very good. You know, basically, I've moved around a few times and I kind of know the lay of the land, but this has been by far the easiest move. People have been so good to me here, and just whatever I needed to do to get things right, they've done it for me, and it's been very good.
We like to hear that. What was it that made you interested in this position?
Well, I've worked with John Harbaugh before in Philly. Um, I love the fact that what he's done here at Baltimore. When we talked, he mentioned the possibility of being a passing game coordinator, and which was something that I've always wanted to pursue. And once we talked about that, and I came in and interviewed with him and told him if he wanted me, I'm here.
Nice. One of the things that you talk about the passing game coordinator, I'm curious what your vision kind of looks like. What does the passing game look like for the Baltimore Ravens in 2019?
Well, obviously, we got a tremendous young quarterback here that it started at a few games last year that got a bright future, and I think once you get to the point where when you want to be good at passing team in this league, you have to be consistent, and we just want to get to the point with the offensive staff here to get Lamar to a situation where he can be as consistent as anybody in the league, and in order to win a Super Bowl in this league, you got to be able to do that.
One of the things that Coach Harbaugh mentioned in his end-of-season press conference was that offensively, you guys are kind of building the offense from the ground up. Obviously, offensive coordinator Greg Roman and you are kind of the big pieces of that. How has that process gone, and what's involved in that?
Well, basically, Greg has a vision of, obviously, he's now the coordinator. He has a vision of where he wants this offense to go, and I've known Greg a long time, and I kind of feel that same way he does about that vision he wants to take. And with Greg and the rest of the offensive staff, you know, we feel like that we're all on the same page. We've been kind of going from scratch right now and developing what we want to do in the passing game and with the entire offense. And it's been a collaborative effort, and we're all on the same page, and we're on the right track with where Greg wants to go with this.
I'm sure part of it is just kind of learning the personnel here. And I'm sure, watching tape from these guys last year. You know it from a distance. When you look at this group, obviously knowing things are going to change inevitably in free agency, in the draft, what stands out to you about the receiver group that's in place right now?
Well, there's some good young talent here. Obviously, you've had a couple of veterans here, too, that I've been aware of, you know, with Michael Crabtree and John Brown. I'm aware of those guys, that there were two veteran guys that were here last year. And you got a couple of young guys that they had drafted and had been here that I think has got a lot of potential, and we just want to develop those guys and get them to the point where we can take this thing to where we need it to go.
Whenever it's the offseason in Baltimore, it's kind of a rite of passage. We spend a lot of time talking about wide receiver. That's always a discussion point. That's probably the case in a lot of NFL cities. So what does that ideal receiver look like to you?
Well, I know this. The first thing he's got to do is be able to catch the ball.
That's important.
And if he can't catch the ball, then he's going to have problems. But basically, I've always felt like that guys that play that position, and basically, too, with all the other positions, too, first and foremost, that guy has to be a football player. You know, he's not only a pass catcher, but he's a blocker. He may have to tackle when things aren't done right and the ball goes to the other team, but he's basically a good football player that has to do everything that all the other guys on the offense that has to do also. But first and foremost, a guy's got to be able to catch the ball. He's got to be able to run some routes that in this league with defensive backs, a lot of man coverage, you got to be able to uncover and do those kinds of things. And you got to be tough. And basically, this young group has some of those qualities that I'm excited to work with.
You've coached a lot of good receivers in your career. Terrell Owens, Deshaun Jackson, Tyreek Hill, a lot of good guys. The list goes on. What do you think that you've taken from working with some really talented players like that?
All those guys want to be the best at what they do. There's a standard that they have. Just going back with T.O., who's probably the most recognizable guy that I've coached, that, you know, I just remember him always saying, hey, don't ever quit coaching me. I want to be the best that I can be. And there are things that I'm not sure that I know about, or if I've got an issue with a problem, I want you to be able to help me get that right, because I want to go out and be able to perform, and I want to perform at the highest level. And usually those guys, it's not just always about catching the football. You know, it's about catching the football that's going to help you win a football game. Not necessarily how many you catch, but the right one that you catch. And I've always felt like those guys are always in the big moments. They always wanted the ball. They always wanted to be able to say, hey, if you need a first down or you need a touchdown, throw me the ball. And those guys all had that quality.
Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Andy Reid. He's somebody that you've known obviously a long time, coached with him in Philly for many years and coached with him again in Kansas City. He's one of the great offensive minds in this league. What do you take from the time that you spent with Andy and bring with you here?
I was fortunate to have 18 years with Andy, 14 in Philadelphia and 4 in Kansas City. And the one thing I learned from Andy that has carried me through my career being with him is the consistency. He has a plan. Everybody knows the plan. Everybody's always on the same page. He has a tremendous ability communicating, and I've taken that from him too, communicating not just with offensive players but the entire team. Also being the head coach and for the most part also being the play caller. But his consistency was unbelievable, and not only was he just a tremendous football coach, but just a tremendous human being.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for the time. We're glad to have you joining us here as a member of the Ravens.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.